And this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. To Bethlehem. It was neither a pilgrimage nor a way home exactly. Yes, Joseph was from Bethlehem, but the context in which he returned were difficult circumstances, you might even say under duress. Luke says the context was a census mandated by Caesar. And as we know so well, the circumstances were less than accommodating for this husband and wife. It's much like our own Christian journey, isn't it? Wherever we are in this fallen world, it's not quite home, and the accommodations don't fully satisfy. The accommodations in this case included a cave. Yes, in St. Francis we have a stable scene, but historically, a stable then would have typically been a cave, and that's what has been handed down to us through tradition. Primitive men retreated to caves and drew pictures on the walls of animals. But did they ever really live there? If they did, then virtually all cultures since then have abandoned the practice. Caves are okay for animals, but for people, they are too cold and damp. Monks go into caves for deprivation and for austerity. But Mary and Joseph found themselves dwelling in a cave for the night. And inside, once the child was born, they placed him where? In a manger, an animal's feeding trough. And so we sing, away in a manger, no crib for his head. For some reason, God showed Mary and Joseph a way in a manger. The full purpose would not be revealed in the moment for them. But this is what God ordained to show as the way of our salvation and of our ultimate home. There's a clue in the very beginning of Isaiah the prophet, where he writes, verse 1:4, the ox knows its owner, and the donkey its master's crib. Did Joseph and Mary make the connection with their manger to that verse at that moment? It's very doubtful. So no, it wouldn't be until much later that the meaning of the master's crib would be made more clear. And later on, we will understand why the master ordained these circumstances for himself. But here we have a once-in-history occurrence, the meaning of which is still very obscure. Not fully foreseen and never to be repeated. Yet we find in our lives a parallel. You and I are called to carry forward the kingdom of God in our own context, in our own circumstances. And in our own place and time, we can ask ourselves, do we ever find our circumstances to be ideal? No, we are called to make the most of difficult circumstances. And this is how God moves our lives forward. A way, so to speak, like having to place a newborn child in a manger. So you and I can ask ourselves, in what ways do you have to accomplish a task before you, but you're not fully equipped to do so? In what ways are you asking why the circumstances of your life have to be so difficult, but you haven't received the answer yet? In what way do you feel like you're dwelling in a cave? In what way are your circumstances less than ideal, uncomfortable, difficult? In this context, you are called to find a way forward, a way, so to speak, in a manger. All this leads us to the makeshift manger of life as we trust God's call through the difficult circumstances that He has ordained. Now, the call of Joseph and Mary was made clear to them, to Mary through the angel Gabriel, to Joseph in a dream. But did they understand how this call would unfold? Or did they understand the circumstances, why they had to be the way they were? Absolutely not. This was unfolded for them gradually over the course of their lives. Even early in Luke's gospel, we saw how this was gradual. The shepherds came and made an announcement to Mary, and she pondered these things in her heart, trying to understand what could only be perplexing to human eyes. The same was true when the Magi came, perhaps a year or two later, up through the confusion of the cross. Likewise, you and I, through the gradual unfolding of life, follow God in faith, or sometimes not so much faith. And when there's not enough faith to face the circumstances, that's when we have a lot in common with the first disciples, who were also given a way like a manger in a cave when they encountered persecution and the cross. Even the resurrection and the ascension were not immediately a source of understanding for those disciples, as they simply encountered more questions and even confusion when the redemption was nigh. But then all was revealed, and the cave, the place of this birth, became something to celebrate. And in fact, it was one of the first places of public worship in the church. At this point, it all made sense. God's power is made perfect in our weakness, even the weakness of a child born in adversity. This truth was so powerful that Hadrian tried to stop this truth by putting a temple of Adonis over the site in the year 135. But as the tables were turned in history, that temple just served to mark the spot so that nobody could lose it or forget it. The faith of a small persecuted church outlasted Hadrian's empire. How? Because it followed the way in a manger. So where are you and I in our journey of life? Like being called to Bethlehem, are we ever really at home in this fallen world? But we find our way in a manger. God's light shines in darkness. We follow in faith as Christ is born in us anew.